Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop in studio with State Representative Tim Butler. Good morning, Representative.
Morning. It's always good to wake up and listen to Guns N' Roses on a Friday morning like I did, you know?
What do you...
Night Train. We were listening to Night Train this morning, so for some strange reason that, you know.
Listening to Night Train as the sun comes up. That only makes sense.
Yeah.
And we were watching the sun come up on Saturday morning, which I got to say, I haven't done a 24-hour plus day in a while, and it wrecked me. I still feel it right now because when you guys got done at 6 o'clock, you know, I got maybe 2 hours of sleep, and I had to be back into the governor's office at 10 o'clock for the
press
conference.
Yeah, right. That's to me, I mean, I get it. People are in town. They want to keep going. They want to push through. I think, you know, the two frustrating things for me is why don't we just adjourn at 9, 10 o'clock, come back at 8 o'clock in the morning? We would have been done by noon. You know, it would have been so good. But really the bigger problem is the final version of the budget, you know, gets dropped at like midnight. So, and this is a $46+ billion budget. You know, there were changes between the version that was the one before it and the one that got introduced at midnight. Right. And then there's no time to take a look at it. I mean, the Senate passed it at 3 a.m. We passed it at 6 a.m. This obviously has become the way of doing business under Speaker Welch. And, you know, this is kind of crazy that we stay in like this. And I think for the people, you know, again, and I know we say a lot about the process, but man, oh man, the people of Illinois need a better product than what we give them every year like this. They need a couple days to digest the budget. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to do that. But to vote on something as important as the budget, and when it's introduced at midnight and you vote on it at 3 and 6 o'clock in the morning, is just kind of ridiculous.
So let's kind of talk about some of the aspects of the budget. Definitely want to focus on the tax relief package,
Yep.
the $1.8 billion the Democrats put in there of mostly temporary relief. So we'll touch on that. But you were pretty instrumental in bringing up the issue of the Micro Act. Tell us what that is and how you were able to get that into the budget.
Yeah, this is something that the Illinois Manufacturers Association approached us about earlier in the year. And I introduced legislation called the Micro Act, which basically gives tax incentives to bring microchip semiconductor production to Illinois. We saw Ohio put a big package together earlier in the year, I think $8 billion package or something, a huge package to attract semiconductor production to Ohio. We've seen especially over the last year, the shortage with microchip production, the kind of everything involved with the surrounding the pandemic and the distribution chain across the world, that we have, you know, chip shortages. Right. You've seen these photos of these, you know, F-150 trucks sitting at Kentucky Speedway waiting for chips to put in them. So the Manufacturers Association came to myself and Senator Gloyak Hilton and said, hey, can you introduce this tax incentives to attract these guys to come to Illinois, which I think is the way we need to be doing business, breaking down barriers to get business to locate in Illinois. And we have, you know, obviously in the middle of the country, we have a great transportation network here. We have an educated workforce. We have the space to be able to do it in a state like Illinois. I think it'd be a really good opportunity for us to build on top of what we did with the Rev Act last year about, you know, electric vehicle support, to do that in the space for semiconductors as well.
We're talking with State Representative Tim Butler here on WMAY 714 now, getting a bit of a debriefing of the state budget and various other elements that were approved in the final hours of legislative session. So with the Micro Act, what are some of the particulars on this? You mentioned the Rev Act
Right.
and how it's going to incentivize battery manufacturers. This goes specifically to microchip manufacturers?
Specifically to chip manufacturers. They'd get some tax relief for locating in Illinois. There's some parameters around the size of production. This isn't just, you know, some, you know, 10-person shop setting up in Illinois. We're talking about, you know, hundreds of jobs. We want companies at least of 50 jobs, but over 100 jobs to come locate here in Illinois, to be able to invest over $100 million basically to put this facility. Then they would be able to get some of this tax incentives that would allow them to be able to be more competitive in their business. So kind of a typical way that we do some of the tax incentive stuff, but to gear it towards larger companies. You know, to have somebody come and set up shop for 100, 200, 500 jobs is really what we're looking at here. And that would really drive change, not only in the semiconductor production, but also in our economy here in the state of Illinois, to have a place like this set up shop in Illinois and create a bunch of jobs.
Question I always hear whenever we talk about carving out tax incentives for certain industries over others: why not just lower the tax burden for all businesses in Illinois?
You know, I mean, Greg, I'm 100% with you on that. I think our tax structure here in the state of Illinois on businesses, on people is way too high, and beyond that, we make it really hard for businesses to locate. And the red tape that you have to go through in Illinois, whether it's dealing with the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, the Department of Professional Regulation, we make it hard for businesses to locate in Illinois. I was talking to somebody yesterday and I said, what we need to do, instead of when somebody comes to Illinois and knocks on a door, instead of handing them a piece of paper and saying, hey, you need to fill out this form and get back to us, we need to put their arms around them and say, hey, what can we do as a state to bring you into the state to make sure that you're locating jobs here? How can we make it easier for you? That's a mindset shift that for far too long hasn't changed in Illinois.
We're talking with State Representative Tim Butler here on WMAY. A few more things I definitely want to talk with him about includes the tax relief that Democrats passed. $1.8 billion. Republicans were looking for $2.2 billion in permanent relief, but we only got the $1.8 billion in mostly temporary relief. One of the big things there, Representative, is the gas tax. It's going to be frozen, 2.2 cents a gallon estimated. That hasn't even kicked in yet, but they have this gas station sticker. Do you know any more about how much is it going to cost?
Yeah,
Who's going to investigate this?
Look, I'm all for holding the CPI raise in the gas tax. That's in the motor fuel tax. I think that's the right thing to do. We asked some questions about that when it was up in committee. One of the things that I'm concerned about is it only halts it from July to next January. So come January 1, it could be instituted again, and then come next July, so you could get hit twice in 2023. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. The sticker thing is kind of ridiculous. We brought this up in committee. The ridiculousness of, in an election year, putting this sticker that nobody's going to be able to read anyway because there's so many words on it, but basically is a glorified campaign piece to put on gas stations. And the folks from the retail and the fuel associations said they were going to take this to court, and I hope they do, very honestly, because I think it's stupid that we're doing this. But at the end of the day, it is tax relief. It is not as much as we were hoping to get in there. I was glad that obviously we got the Micro Act in there, but we also got the relief on the parking tax. I think one of the worst interpretations of the tax code that I've seen is the fact that the governor's administration through the Department of Revenue said that the parking structure tax applies to the mom and pop operations that park cars at the state fair and so on. That was ridiculous. So we were able to eliminate that. But people are going to see some relief. The grocery, the sales tax on groceries gets suspended for a while. There's a sales tax holiday on before going back to school, which I think is good. Not the true relief that we need on a permanent level, but at least it's something in a year that's going to be tough on folks.
Finally here, you got some things happening for Springfield. Passed last minute. Seems to happen at the end of every session. An omnibus package of TIF districts that get spelled out all across the state. What were you able to secure for Springfield?
Yeah, so the mayor and his team had approached us about extending the Madison Park Place TIF. Which is kind of on the just east of downtown. And the idea is that's going to be extended into the Pillsbury area and try to help with redevelopment of Pillsbury, which I think is great. So hopefully with that extension, we'll be able to see, some TIF funds flow into whatever happens with Pillsbury. And kind of redevelop that area a little bit. So I think that was a good thing to do. And the mayor, I give the mayor some credit recently. He's brought on a team of lobbyists for the city that have done a good job engaging members of the General Assembly, which I think has been productive for the city because I don't think the communication had been the best between the city and its legislators. And so the folks that have come on have done a really good job of advocating for things for the city.
State Representative Tim Butler, that's all the time we've got. We'll definitely talk again in the near future. Elections are coming up, so we're going to have to talk about that as well.
Absolutely.
You do face an opponent, and as to give the audience the best spectrum I can of everything that's happening impacting you with the elections, we're definitely going to be talking with Representative Butler and others all throughout the next couple of months. So have a great day.
Sounds good. Have a great Easter weekend, folks.
Absolutely. You too. And it is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on WMAY.